Imagine flooding a marginalized community with industrial-scale narcotics, profiting off the total devastation of the people, and then using that exact same destruction as a resume to protect the culture's biggest stars. This man is a walking contradiction, a former street-level prisoner who transitioned into a luxury security detail. He wears a tailored suit, but his entire brand is built on the absolute ruin of a black neighborhood in Florida. What up, y'all? It's your boy, O Man, aka O the Dread. We're ripping the curtain down on a very specific type of opportunist today. The subject is a man who goes by Black Label. He was born a white kid in a hyper-segregated neighborhood, but he operationalized black trauma in a highly lucrative entertainment commodity. Alright, full disclosure, this dude already blocked me on Instagram. I left a comment calling out his deeply offensive response to a question asked by DJ Vlad, and I guess he saw it and felt some type of way. We'll get to the psychological breakdown of that exact exchange later on in the video. Today we execute a forensic autopsy on performative authenticity. We're utilizing the sociological frameworks of Eric Lott, Norman Mailer, and W.T. Lamont to dismantle a man who uses a 15-year federal prison sentence as a certificate of toughness. We're proving exactly why his security firm is nothing but a high-end minstrel show where he gets to play the star. Hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. I operate strictly on unvarnished truths, historical data, and undisputed receipts. Let's dissect the architecture of a manufactured monster. The psychological blueprint of Black Label was forged in Harbordale, St. Petersburg, Florida, the South Side. He grew up as a statistical anomaly, the only white kid in an all-black environment.
Story, man, like being a white boy, man, being a white boy
in the all-black neighborhood, but that thing abusive, man. That thing real abusive.
He endured extreme domestic instability, raised by an abusive, alcoholic mother who openly admitted to attempting a failed abortion on him. She allegedly used black coffee to suppress his appetite when there was no food in the house. Outside of the home, he was an immediate target. He suffered brutal physical beatings. He was attacked with bicycle chains. He was led around on dog leashes by his peers. This unrelenting hostility catalyzed a terrifying transformation. He stopped taking the beatings and started dealing them out. By the age of 11, he entered the crack game. He didn't just participate in the illicit economy, he industrialized it. He gutted a residential house and installed 15 stoves running a manufacturing hub that flooded the South Side with product. He bypassed local middlemen, sourcing double-digit kilo drops directly from the Jamaican shower posse down in Miami. He transported the drugs on public buses, hiding crack inside resealed cereal boxes. He generated massive capital, but he also inflicted generational damage. He admits to the violence. He details skin-peeling torture sessions using kitchen forks. He facilitated acts of utter depravity, allegedly forcing addicted black women to perform explicit, dehumanizing acts with his pit bulls just to secure their next hit.
Girls, they'll come through with no money. I had a big-ass Rottweiler. I used to make them have sex with a Rottweiler.
Put that on Allah. Say wallahi, bro. Say wallahi.
He was a biological hazard to the community. But look at the psychological mechanics of this operation. He refers to himself as the calculated sovereign. While he flooded the streets with narcotics, he remained strictly sober. He never touched the drugs. He never drank the liquor. He operated as the lucid enforcer overseeing a culture of chemical dependency. This was not a display of discipline. It was a mechanism of subjugation. He dominated the very demographic that bullied him as a child by controlling their vices. He kept his niggas heavily intoxicated while he held the keys to the vault.
Hey, but them my niggas. Them my niggas, though.
Alright, hold up real quick, because this is where the grifter exposes his ultimate fear. You have to look at the visceral disdain for the comedian Druski.
Y'all, somebody find Druski for me. Somebody tag Druski. One thing you can't do, Druski, that little white boy skit was cool. I ain't lying, but one thing you can't do is some white ends, you ain't gonna never run off the block.
Druski created a satirical character named Red, the stereotypical try-hard white boy accepted by the hood. It's a direct mockery of the exact persona Black Label spent decades building. Black Label hates this character with a passion. Why the extreme hostility over a comedy skit? Because satire dissolves the illusion. A caricature can't be pitched to Netflix. If the public views the white D-boy as a joke, then his entire 15-year federal prison sentence was served for a punchline. He attacks the comedy to protect his market value. He cannot afford to be laughed at because his entire financial future depends on people taking his minstrel performance seriously. The mask completely slipped during his sit-down with DJ Vlad. Vlad asked him a simple foundational question about the demographics of Harbordale. Was it an all-black area or was it mixed black and Spanish? Black Label responded, it was very black. How did he define that blackness? He didn't mention the food, the communal traditions, the art, or the resilience of the people. He immediately rattled off a checklist of absolute decay. He pointed to welfare, drug-riddled corners, prostitution, domestic violence, and home invasions. He summarized the community as the Wild West. This is a tactical linguistic erasure. He equated racial identity strictly with systemic trauma. By framing the neighborhood solely as a treacherous wasteland, he strips the humanity away from the residents and replaces it with a caricature of primitive violence. This is exactly what Norman Mailer described in his 1957 essay, The White Negro. Mailer outlined how white individuals seek out the margins of black life to cure their own existential alienation. Black Label uses the black community as a symbolic frontier to escape his own white domestic trauma. He adopts the slang, the posture, and the aggression of the streets to secure subcultural capital. But as linguist Cecilia Cutler points out in her studies of white hip-hoppers, his linguistic performance is a calculated code switch. He uses the Southern drawl and the Caribbean inflection to extract money from the hood, but he cleans up his vocabulary the second he steps into a corporate meeting or sits across from a therapist for a podcast.
And it goes back to strategizing. It goes back to marketing. It goes back to knowing your product. It goes back to knowing your clientele. It goes back to being an entrepreneur. It goes back to being successful. It goes back to running and fuck you, Nick.
This allows him to accrue social currency from black resistance while leaving the underlying structures of white supremacy completely unchallenged. In 2000, the federal government dropped the hammer. The DEA raided his operation with SWAT teams descending from the roofs. He faced 40 to 60 years behind bars. The agents offered him a downward departure if he cooperated and basically snitched on his crew. And he refused. The judge handed him 15 years and he served every single day of it. He routinely uses that prison stint as a badge of honor. He brags about controlling the all-black TV room at the compound, claiming he was the only white man authorized to dictate the programming. He flexes his relationship with high-profile inmates. He treats a decade and a half in a federal cage as a marketing incubation phase. Cultural critic Bakari Katwana notes figures like this require a black stamp of approval. That 15-year sentence serves as a receipt of his authenticity. It's the literal currency required to purchase the cultural cachet he currently monetizes. In 2015, he walked out of the penitentiary. He realized that the streets don't offer a pension plan for silence. His old neighborhood was gentrified into college campuses. His former partners were either locked up or dead. He engineered a sophisticated reinvention. He secured an LLC, obtained a security license, and launched Black Label services. He transitioned from trafficking keys to trafficking celebrities. He now provides high-end transportation and personal protection for A-list clients like Kodak Black, Rick Ross, and Cardi B. He sells the pillars of safety, image, and secrecy. He guarantees his clients a James Bond experience inside his fleet of blacked-out trucks. The irony is absolutely suffocating. The man who flooded the community with crack, orchestrated neighborhood shootouts, and exploited addicted women is now employed to protect the most successful exports of that exact same culture. He didn't assimilate into the community, he conquered it. He used the ruin he caused as a stepping stone to proximity and wealth. He markets his name as a symbol of integrity, yet his entire fortune is built on a foundation of poisoned soil. Black Label is the ultimate architect of a trauma laundering scheme. To fully diagnose his condition, we must apply Eric Lott's framework of love and theft. Black Label's operation is a pathological adaptation of 19th century minstrelsy. His fascination with black culture was merely a prelude to the theft of its forms for personal capital. He meticulously constructed a persona that bridges the gap between a traumatized white child and a luxury enforcer for the hip-hop elite. He has an unnatural pathological obsession with dominating black men. The brutal bullying he endured in Harbordale created a permanent psychological deficit. He doesn't just want to participate in the culture, he wants to manage it. He wants to be the lucid, sober shepherd overseeing a flock of intoxicated clients. He demands absolute control because he's terrified of returning to the vulnerability of his youth. He uses the black men around him as props in his own psychological recovery plan. His ultimate objective isn't security, it's cinema. He wrote 10 movie scripts while he was locked in a federal cell. He constantly pitches his life story as a Hollywood blockbuster. He wants to be the star of his own minstrel show. He wears the trauma of the black community like a costume, utilizing negative stereotypes to validate his own toughness. He expects the public to applaud his survival while ignoring the bodies he buried to achieve it. He is an anomaly, yes, but he's an anomaly created by profound moral bankruptcy. He transformed the victim of his environment into its most ruthless exploiter, and that is some of the most nefarious work of all. That's the video. If you're disgusted by cultural parasites who monetize the devastation of the community to build their own luxury brands, then sound off below. Is Black Label a product of his environment, or is he a calculating grifter exploiting black trauma for Hollywood clout? I want to read your perspective. I'm curating this channel to shatter the facades. We're organizing a coalition of critical thinkers. Hit subscribe if you value documented reality over manufactured street myths. Check out my deep dives on the rest of the digital charlatans here and here. Till next time, and you already know the vibes. be the person you like to meet. Peace.
Oh man, I'm about to pop out. And you know I brought the drop out.